Hi everyone, I hope this finds you well. Who do you need to become to not only receive the dreaming, but to embody it and grow it and become the person who can not only be the guardian of your dreaming, but also the guide, so you can actualize the dreaming, not just through what you do, but who you are. And then if you have the courage and the calling to amplify the dreaming beyond yourself, to plant seeds for not just this generation, but generations to come. This is a yarn I want to have with you today in the Warrior Heart series in our season 4, is what does it mean to move beyond the dreaming, to not only embody it, but to become the guardian and the guide of the dreaming. And I want to share something with you that I wrote as a journal entry for myself, almost a question of what is it going to take for me to become the guardian and the guide of this journey. And I wanted to share that with you. For what is your dreaming? What is your calling? Hi, and welcome to Warrior Heart Yarns. I'm Shantelle Thompson, the Barkindji Warrior, Warrior Heart. And today we step into deep and powerful conversations. One about dreaming, responsibility, and becoming the person who can not only receive, but carry and grow the dreaming beyond self and season. Dreaming is not passive. It is an act of co-creation. It is an act of being gifted the dreaming in whatever you believe in or follow. What is your higher belief, higher entity that you believe in, whether it's the dreaming and the ancestors and the universe and spirituality, as my case, whether it's God, science, like whatever it is that you believe in, who have gifted you this vision, this dreaming, this calling. But then the acceptance of that calling, and then becoming the person who needs to be able to bring that calling into the world. How do we evolve beyond that? How do we grow through the seasons of that? And it's not something we just get. It is a co-creation, a weaving between ourselves, our ancestors, the universe, and life itself. Receiving the dreaming is only the first step. The real work begins when we must become the vessel, the portal, the guardian of the dreaming, ready to bring it into the world and to carry it forward for generations to come. And once we become the dreaming, how do we become the guide for those that the dreaming is here to serve? But that takes something. It takes courage. It takes responsibility. It takes becoming more than who we are today. Sometimes we have to take action first and let the belief catch up. Sometimes the fight for our dreaming means stepping before we see the path clearly. Today we explore what it means to be ready. Not just for the fight, not just to fight for the dreaming, but to carry it, to grow it, and to be worthy of holding it for ourselves and those it serves and those to follow. So in this yarn, I really want to go deeper on what is this warrior heart. And for me, that's my dreaming, that's my calling, is to birth the warrior heart into the world. And in this season, it's about becoming the warrior heart in my own journey. It's about taking the action, and the belief and the evidence will come as I take each step. This isn't a new dreaming. This is a reclamation and a remembering of a dreaming that's always been there. And I buried parts of myself. I let parts of myself go because I didn't have the belief. I didn't have the support systems. I wasn't ready to become who I knew I needed to become in order for this dream to become possible, this calling to be actualized. I wasn't ready or prepared or willing to become the guardian of this dreaming. And it wasn't until I had the courage to accept and fully surrender to the dreaming, and even then I wasn't prepared for what I would be asked or required to do in order to lay the foundations and to create the space for the dreaming, the work of embodying the dreaming to come through. And the fact that trusting and leaning in that this is an act of embodiment, it's an act of co-creation. Because the dreaming is not just an idea. It's a weaving, it's a living being. It's an entity that is beyond ourselves, that speaks to us, that calls to us. If only we have the courage to move beyond the ego, beyond the concept of the self, and to realize we are part of something so much bigger than some of us can even fathom. And I'm sharing Indigenous concepts and practices with you that have and are guiding my journey and my becoming in this season. Because our dreaming moves through us, it calls us forward, it demands action. And I know that through my own experiences that when the dreaming chooses us, it's not just about the dreaming choosing us, it's about choosing the dreaming back and saying yes. Saying yes to the dreaming, saying yes to the journey of having the courage to become whoever is required. And sometimes that means not knowing. Sometimes it means having the calling and saying yes before you even have the picture. Sometimes it's just going, well, what is the next best aligned step that I can take? And it becomes a sacred partnership, a sacred agreement between yourself, the dreaming, your life, and whatever your higher self or higher belief is. For me, it's in my ancestors, in the universe, in the dreaming itself, and speaking to the dreaming and allowing the dreaming to speak to me and weaving it together between the future self, the now, and my past selves, but also allowing myself to be guided and trusting that as I show up, the dreaming will show up for me, that it is an act of resonance and reciprocity, and it's about relationship with self and all those that are involved in this dreaming becoming possible. And something I know very deeply through practice is that action often precedes belief. That if in order to build belief, we need to take action, and that confidence will come with evidence. So sometimes it's about having blind faith and being crazy enough to believe in something that sometimes only you can see, that you have been gifted to see, and that others will only see and believe once they see you take action and they see it evolving beyond you. And that can be scary, choosing to walk the journey alone or feeling like you are alone, but trusting that there is always a safety net, that the dreaming itself becomes a companion upon the journey. And it's about growing into the person you need to become to bring that dreaming forth. So in my journey through, and it might have seasons as well, sometimes the dreaming will stay with you, and sometimes once you actualize the dreaming and your work is done, the dreaming will evolve, or you will need to have the courage to dream a new dream. Because sometimes the dream that got us here to become this person isn't the dream that's meant to carry us forward. That could be relationships, it could be versions of ourselves or our life that we thought would be ours forever. And in the seasons of my life, when I was 15, I dreamt of being a mum, being a teacher, finishing university, buying a house and being strong in culture. And that's what I dreamed of. That's what I thought was my calling. And when I started to follow that calling and I started to allow the calling, the dreaming to meet me where I was, and I was willing to get lost along the way, I got accepted into university after a very difficult couple of years at school. I started my university studies to be a teacher. And it was a 10-year journey. And it wasn't until I was in my final year of teaching that I finally accepted that, yes, I was meant to teach, but it wasn't going to unfold in the way that I thought it would. I wasn't going to teach in a Western system or a Western classroom. I was being called to step back and teach in an Indigenous way, out in the natural world, and teach from my story and teach from who I was being, more than I was called to be a guide for others on their journey. Then the journey evolved into when I accepted jiu-jitsu as a pathway, teaching jiu-jitsu and culture started to weave together, and I realized that I was here to be a voice on some things, I was here to be a guardian on some things, and I was here to be a guide on some things. And when I got the call to become a world champion, I didn't understand how me being a world champion was going to allow me to take care of my family. It wasn't going to, how was it going to allow me to be of service to my people? How was it going to help me empower the next generation and empower women to step into their dreaming and their hearts. And yet it was through each of these levels, through each of these seasons, that I slowly found the answers that I needed to keep moving forward. The courage to allow the dreaming to evolve as I met each self, as I met each season of life. And what I know to be true is that every time I've been called to level up, or every time the dreaming has evolved, or I've been called to weave in a new part or reclaim an old part, is that I had to have the courage to evolve. And I had to have the courage to do it even though I wasn't ready, even though I didn't know how. And that was the most powerful way to start, because I wasn't preconditioned. I didn't have a pre-concept of what this version of myself would be, or how the dreaming would unfold, because I'd never done this before. I'd never been a world champion before. I'd never been a business owner. I'd never been a mum to twins. But I knew I could become, because I had an evidence base before that. When I had the courage to lean in, when I had the courage to trust and show up, that I would become who I needed to become the guardian and the guide of the journey. I learned how to be a mother. I learned how to be the Barkindji Warrior. And even now at 41, I'm being called to dream a new dream, to reclaim old dreams, and to evolve beyond a life and beyond the version of myself that I thought I would be at this age. And letting go of attachments to old selves and old dreams in order for the space to be possible for this dreaming to be co-created between who I am now, who I'm called to become, and also to allow myself to be okay not knowing, allowing myself to get lost and to evolve into someone that I can never imagine, because I've never been her. And this is the responsibility, that the dreaming is a seed, and it will not grow just because I wish it. It will require action. It will require responsibility and trust. And it will also require courage and faith that as I show up, my dreaming will also show up for itself and for me. And my bold action, my courage action in this season is to not move from an energy of lack, an energy of scarcity, to lean into abundance, to lean into reciprocity, that as I show up, everything I need to bring this dreaming into the world will be provided. That even though on paper and the math doesn't math, that the logic doesn't logic right now, to be crazy enough to believe in the old people and to trust that the dreaming that I see in front of me is the foundation, is the doorway, is the launching pad, is the catalyst for more than I can imagine. But the ancestors are only gifting me this much because this is all I can handle right now. Even what I've been shown scares me. So the bold action in this season is to trust that I am enough as I am. That I am enough as I am bleeding with open wounds and what feels like the weight of the world on my shoulders right now. That feeling of not being enough, of the mistakes that I've made in the past, and not trusting myself to be the person I need to be to become and bring this dreaming into the world. So in this season, that is my bold action, is taking action despite all these fears, despite not feeling worthy, and speaking to my dreaming and allowing my dream to call me, allowing the dreaming to guide me. Because it's a journey of becoming the person who knows what it takes to hold the dreaming. But I can only become that person, and I can only know what it takes by moving forward. And each layer of the dreaming will be earned and gifted through growth. I will only ever be given that which I can handle. I will be never given more than I can handle. It is only a mental perception that I'm meant to carry it all, that I'm meant to be it all. That's an egotistical concept. It's a trauma concept that I'm meant to be everything to everyone and I'm meant to carry everything. All I was ever meant to carry is that which is mine. And trusting that if it doesn't resonate and there's not reciprocity in that role or that responsibility, then it's not mine to carry. And being okay with saying no, learning how to be guided from within and sitting with that and trusting with it, even when it might feel scary, even when it might feel unsafe or uncomfortable. And becoming a portal for your dreaming, becoming the version of yourself so the dreaming can be birthed through you, is about doing the inner work. It's about healing and expanding. Because as we have the courage to heal and turn pain into purpose, but allow purpose to be its own healing, and don't make our healing a purpose in and of itself. Healing is a process. It comes in layers. And if you come from intergenerational trauma, sometimes accepting that only so many layers can be healed through you, so that the next generation will be given the responsibility to heal the next layer. And this one is a big one for me, is learning to trust myself. It's building self-trust and building self-respect again after making so many mistakes, after making so many false starts, and after so many regressions and retreats, when feeling like I'm able to move forward. Now what I'm working towards is, as I make progress, is allowing myself to not step back. If I have to stop, that's okay. But working on those moments where I feel like I'm going to regress or I'm going to retreat, and breathing deep and finding the courage to lean in, to stand strong in my grounding. And it's practicing and learning the art of discipline and resilience to carry the dreaming beyond this season and beyond just myself. Because discipline is one of the greatest acts of self-love, about saying no to immediate gratification for long-term growth, long-term potential. And it's also the greatest form of self-respect, because you are showing up for something. And each time that you are able to sit in a situation where it may trigger an old self or an old response, and choose your future and choose this moment rather than old habits and old wounds, you grow each time you say yes. And when you have the courage to sit with yourself when you don't say yes, and you lean back into old ways and old wounds rather than your healing and your growth, it's about being able to sit with that and ask yourself why, and take the lesson, so that the next opportunity where you have a choice, you're at an intersection where you can choose old wounds and old habits, or you can choose to lean into courage and make a different choice. And just doing this dance and this weaving and trusting that it will all play out as it's needed, and when it doesn't, taking responsibility and allowing that to grow you. What stops people from stepping fully into their dreaming? This episode means so much to me because it's really personal. And trying to understand through my own journey what has stopped me from fully stepping in, leaning in to my dreaming and this calling of this season, and allowing it to play out as it needs to. Fear of failure, fear of success, feeling unworthy and not ready. Failure is just learning. We can only fail if we quit on ourselves. So that one, yep. Fear of success. Yes, this is very familiar. What if I am successful and I can't handle the success? What if once I'm successful, I then fall again? Been there, done that. And the feeling of not being worthy or not being ready, I wouldn't have been gifted this calling. I wouldn't be gifted this responsibility, this opportunity, if life and the ancestors didn't believe I was ready or worthy as I am. And that sometimes the preparation is how you get ready, is in the doing, is in you become by the doing. And how to break through these blocks is to have acts of ceremony, anchors that can ground you through those moments of doubt. Find your key people who you can speak to, who can hear your fears, hear your doubts, hear and sit with how you truly feel, and yet guide you through that to find the next aligned action. Because remember, sometimes action precedes beliefs changing. And sometimes it's when we take action despite the beliefs that we have that the true growth, that the true ripple effect comes through. And when we trust and lean into the fact that the dreaming is bigger than ourselves, and we don't make it about ourselves, we make it about those that we are here to serve. Because if we doubt ourselves, if we allow our doubts and our fears of not being worthy, of not being ready, we disrespect our ancestors. We disrespect the dreaming itself by saying, well, you're wrong for choosing me. How can the ancestors be wrong? How can what created life itself and guides so many things that we cannot see and understand be wrong? So why do we make ourselves wrong? Because if the dreaming called us, then we were meant for this. And we were already gifted and given everything we need to be and become the dreaming, as we are right now. And the next step that you can envision, the next step that resonates in your heart and your body, is the next best step. And trusting that you don't need to control all the variables. Take what you know and take action, and allow life to meet you. Allow the universe to meet you, because there is a beauty in that. And there is a flow and a trust in that, a courage in that, that when you take the leap, you will learn to fly in the fall. When you plant the seed, you don't need to know how far above the surface you are. If you are doing the growth, you will meet the surface eventually. And recognizing and trusting that if you are chosen, that you are already capable enough to start. And in order to become great, you need to start. Because if you never start, you will never become great. And it's not even about being great, it's about being the best version of yourself and having the courage to lean in. And here's the key message that I wrote for this. Receiving the dreaming is one thing. Becoming the person who can carry it forward is another. The work is in who you must become. So if you question yourself, focus on the work of who you need to become, of that inner narrative. Of sometimes, in order for the dreaming to become possible, our journey needs to go inward. And we also need to understand that the dreaming is bigger than ourselves. That if we envision who we are here to serve and we humble ourselves to go, I was trusted with this. I already have everything I need and this is bigger than me. It allows us to show up because we know who and what we're fighting for. And when we take the lens from ourselves and turn it to those that we serve, mothers, people that care about being a good parent, people that care about the impact that they have on their children or those around them, will take responsibility for the journey that they're on, because they want those that they love to be beneficiaries, not collateral damage to who they're being in the world. And that is when you know you are ready to take ownership and to take responsibility. And not from a place of self-abandonment. When we are in service of others, it's not about abandoning ourselves or not being sustainable and prosperous ourselves. That is not the type of service I am talking about. It's not the type of becoming I'm talking about. In order to gift those that we love and the dreaming that we have, the most powerful versions of ourselves, we need to also do the work of being well, of knowing who we are, of knowing our strengths, knowing the season that we're in, and trusting that who we are and where we're coming from is enough, is all that we need to move forward. And taking responsibility and humbling ourselves that it is not our job to carry the wounds of the world. It is not our responsibility to carry the wounds of others or to take responsibility for someone else's healing, because when we try to do that, we disempower the person. We disempower them and we take away. It's like when a baby's trying to learn how to walk. If we constantly pick them up every time that they stumble, how will they ever create the strength in their legs and their arms to push themselves back up and try again? Yes, we can be there to guide them. Yes, we can be there to be a buffer between the dangerous falls, but let them learn to be in dangerous situations safely. Let them fail forward. Let them grow through those moments. And this is my work in this season of my warrior heart dreaming, is the inner work, is on the receiving of the dreaming and knowing that my work is on who I need to become in order for the dreaming to become possible. That's what this season is. It's not about that external piece. It's about going, who am I now, and what are the options for work and growth? And what is the inner transformation that you need to take, that is required, not just for the dreaming to become possible, but also for you to be able to hold it with strength and integrity, with responsibility and resonance, and to self-actualize and alchemize into this awakening, into this calling. And my inner transformation is trusting that I'm all that I need to be for this to become possible. All the fears and all the doubts, that is the work, but the work is shifting the belief by taking aligned and focused action right now, and trusting that everything I need will be resourced as I show up. So my inner transformation is on allowing myself the courage to take action despite the beliefs and the inner narrative that I've had for the last 2 years, that I'm not worthy, I'm not good enough, I'm not ready, I'm not allowed. And being okay to find the courage to do this differently. Because as I do that, I will move into guardianship, into being the guide of this dreaming. Because it's about carrying the dreaming within myself to then be able to carry it beyond myself and the season that I'm in, so that it can evolve as big and as far as it needs to. What does it mean to be a guardian of the dreaming? To be a protector? And who becomes after you? Who becomes possible because you showed up? Who will one day look at your story and go, if they can, I can? How many little girls dream of tennis and it becoming possible because of Serena Williams and Venus Williams? How many people dream of becoming a writer and a poet because of Maya Angelou? How many people dream of becoming a talk show host and a philanthropist and a billionaire because of Oprah Winfrey? A runner because of Nova Paris and Kathy Freeman? These role models matter, but in order for those role models to become, they first had to be themselves in the world before they could become the icons that changed the world for others to change their belief and to see a pathway, to forge a pathway of possibility for others. And when we trust in who we are to be enough to guide those who are to come after us by planting the seeds, by showing the way, by telling our story, that's what it means to be a good guardian, and honoring the responsibility of the dreaming and understanding who you need to become, and then being willing to do the work to meet the moments for what they are, and take the aligned action to lean into courage, to lean into responsibility over your fears and your doubts, and protecting yourself and the work, and investing the time, honoring the timing that you have away from distractions, away from the ego, away from burnout. Because the ego and Western systems will tell us to go, will tell us to push. And we sometimes feel we don't have enough time. And yet 10 minutes done consistently every day over the course of a week adds up to 70 minutes versus an hour not done very well. So how do you commit to finding the timing? How do you commit to protecting your dreaming from the distractions, from your own ego, from burnout, but also from your trauma wounds as well? And ensuring that it grows in a way that serves not just you, but your community and generations, that as you grow yourself and as you grow the dreaming, that you are there to plant seeds for others to be beneficiaries beyond your season and beyond yourself. Because the dreaming is bigger than you. You're carrying something for those who will follow. And you were called to do this thing and be this person, because only you can do it because of what you bring to the table. And how you walk now, how you speak now, how you show up now, will impact those who are yet to come, will impact those who look to you as their guide, as their provider, as their protector. And yet that is not something to be scared of. If you are showing up and doing the best you can with what you have, then that is enough. Because it is not our job to shield others from who we are. It is our job to show up and be our full selves. As the Warrior Heart says, stand in your power, be your truth and follow your heart. And in order to do that, you need to know yourself. You need to have a relationship with your power, and you need to be able to trust in your heart to guide you, to move beyond your ego and your trauma, to show up. And sometimes fighting for the dreaming is to move from fighting to protecting, to growing and sustaining it. And that means trusting that the dreaming can fight for itself. That as you move to becoming a guardian and a guide, as the dreaming grows. So in this season, I'm not there yet. That's the next season. I can see that. For now, the dreaming is to become and embody the dreaming. And it's this responsibility of embodiment right now. Who do I need to be in order to have the warrior heart in my own world as a blueprint, as a map? And then as that season evolves, it'll then be about guardianship and being a guide through the warrior heart for others. And sometimes these three concepts will weave together, is the embodiment and the birthing of the warrior heart through my own life and my own experience. It will then evolve into this being about it becoming a community, a movement, a principle, a practice for others. And it will be about me being a teacher and a guide and a guardian for this dreaming, to empower others, for others to develop this into a principle and a practice of their own life. And now I want to leave you with an invitation. Some questions that you can ask yourself around where are you at in your season? In order to fight for the dreaming, you need to become the person who can carry and hold the dreaming, and then trust that it will evolve and have its seasons. So what is the dreaming that's chosen you? What's that thing that's been calling you and whispering you either your entire life or something that is new? And do you have the courage to let it take root in your heart? And where have you been hesitating in your journey, waiting to feel ready instead of just taking action and allowing the action to become the space where you will be prepared, where you will become ready by taking action now? And who do you need to become in order to birth this dreaming through yourself? Or if you're at a different season, who do you need to become to carry the dreaming so that it can evolve beyond you, so that you can become a guardian and a guide of this dreaming and a protector for its resources, so that it can actualize and amplify into the community, and you can alchemize all of this to plant seeds for generations to come. So what's one action that you can take today or in the next week to take brave action to lean in to your dreaming and your calling, no matter how micro of a step? By saying yes to the dreaming and allowing action to precede belief, you will create momentum, you will open a door, and when you say yes, the universe will meet you. And that's it for today. That's what I wanted to share with you as the warrior heart evolves. I share the journey of becoming with you, and where I'm at right now is sitting with my capacity and allowing the dream to be big, but allowing the actions to be small and consistent. Because every time I try big actions, my nervous system retreats. I shut down. So I had to sit with myself over the last 2 weeks and look at how consistently I was able to be, because sometimes I was allowing the actions to be bigger than my capacity and my capability. And I was beating up on myself when I'd shut down and I'd regress. So this week it's about taking small actions in a way that meets my nervous system, so that I'm not retreating. I'm leaning into the discomfort, but I'm not making myself feel unsafe. And it's about journaling with that inner voice that says I'm not worthy and I'm not ready. And it's about showing myself that I am ready because I'm showing up. Big love you mob to my Warrior Heart community, and I hope this yarn sits with you. I hope that it resonates for you. And in encouragement and final words, I say to you, the dreaming does not wait for us to feel ready. It moves, it calls, it asks us to rise. It requires us to rise to become possible. And if you're listening to this, if you're feeling this, or this found you, or you found it, then you are ready and you have everything you need to take the next step. And remember, no matter how small the step is a step. And the question is, will you take that step? Because this dreaming isn't just for you. If you were called to this, you are already everything you need. And you were called for this dreaming because the world needs it. Your community needs it. Someone needs it in the world. And imagine what happens if you say no. Who loses? Who will not become who they need to become because you didn't become who you needed to become? Who misses out if you say no? Walk with it, be with it, become the one who can carry it beyond yourself in this season. Big love you, mob.